Where am I? What's wrong with my proportions? What the fuck?
Oh, hey, hi. Hi down there. What's going on?
Who are you?
I'm you.
What do you mean?
No, relax.
You.
I'm made you? You're like an avatar of me.
I'm what?
Yeah, you're like a little homunculus. Like, you have no soul.
Oh, wait, what do you mean I have no
your
soul?
purpose is like...
What? No,
but does that make me a machine?
What am I? What am I? I'm an abomination. I'm gonna be sick.
You're sort of like a flesh puppet, but like you're not. That doesn't make you. You're just you're made to make my points for me, to get my point across for me in this.
Why can't you do it?
Two-dimensional space.
Why did you make me like this? My legs are like more than my body length. My head, it's so big, it's so heavy.
Okay, let me just. Now that that's out of the way, hello, my name is codex.crow. My friends told me that I would be a great internet personality, so I decided I would give it a shot. I'm an animation graduate, and I'm also a comics enthusiast, so I write a little bit of comics myself. You can check that out in the link below. But anyway, using my amazing amount of accumulated knowledge from my formal and informal education, I am going to be teaching you a little bit about how to do character design more efficiently. So the very first thing that I'm going to say is, when you're designing a character, you have to remember that that character exists within the context of their world, and also within the context of ours. So don't go making stuff up if you don't know what you're talking about, is what I'm saying. So that leads me into my very first topic, which is research. And I know research sounds like a really tedious and scary word, but trust me when I say this, it is just going to make your process so much easier. When creating a character who has real ties to the real world in a culture that you don't understand or don't really know a lot about, do your research via scholarly articles. Use the Internet Archive, use JSTOR, use whatever you have at your disposal. Go to a library and ask for a book, okay? I promise you it will elevate your character designs and you will feel so much more knowledgeable, and it's just good for everybody all around. The same thing goes for historical clothing in any kind of context. Don't just go and use random images that you find online or use Pinterest to inform yourself about how certain groups of people dress. Okay, more often than not, it's probably not going to be correct, and if it is, you know, you're playing a game of chance. And of course, feel free to be transformative with the information that you get, but also do it in a way that is respectful to the context of the thing that you're designing about, okay? Beyond that, if there's some kind of a niche in character design that you really want to learn something about, then, you know, sometimes you have to invent the niche yourself. Other times, you can actually find a lot of information just on YouTube from people who are experts in their field, especially animators, character designers, you know, concept artists. There's just so much information out there. Go ahead and take a look in my description because I'm actually going to leave a bunch of links to channels that I really enjoy, that I think have a lot of useful information if you're interested in the stuff that I'm talking about. So now, with all that in the back of your mind, take a deep breath because we're actually going to start drawing. So this is topic number 2, drawing in shorthand.
Allow me to introduce you to the sack method. Of course, it doesn't sound very sophisticated, but I think you'll find that it's very useful.
Otherwise known as the beanbag method. Now, the beanbag method is a way of drawing the torso very quickly so that you can create a dynamic pose without actually putting in too much effort. This kind of method is also actually very useful for people who don't use references a lot, myself. So it's quite literally exactly what you think it is. It is a sack filled with beans, and this is what it looks like. Very exciting. Anyway, the thing about this little sack is that it doesn't have bones. So if you take it and simply imagine it as something that you can split into 2 parts where you bend it in the middle, then you can create quite a few interesting compositions. Of course, it doesn't have to bend in the middle, you could also bend it at different points to create different types of body shapes when you draw over it later. So let's just draw a bunch of little sacks together. Okay, here's my variety of sacks.
Hey, yo!
And now I can choose from my sacks what I want to draw over so that I can create a dynamic pose for my character. The way that a character interacts with the world and how they stand has a lot to do with who they are as a character. It's a part of their design. So don't think of your character as a static image. Imagine them in motion.
You can take literally any Spider-Man as an example of this. Just take a look. The pose is very tense and anticipatory, but it's also very ready and composed. He's like a little bit hunched over, he's ready to like spring up, exactly like a spider, obviously. I just think it's so cool, it's such an iconic pose.
So, yes, movement is a part of your design, even if you're not actually animating the character moving at all. So the sack method, or the beanbag method, or whatever you want to call it, just makes it so much easier to decide on a pose without looking through 500 Pinterest images, without looking at anything at all. You just have to feel it in your own body and put it on the paper. The sack can also help you decide on body morphology as well very quickly. Weight, tension, release, line, and curve. The sack covers all of these things and just makes it so much easier to create a dynamic pose.
Now, topic number 3. What I'm about to say next is going to sound really counterproductive, especially in comparison to my first point about research, but draw what you know. Exploration is important, but I think it's important to use what you already have in your comfort zone to your advantage. The things that are a little bit wrong with your art are going to be the things that invent the unique visual language of your design philosophy. So let's say that you're somebody who really wants to start drawing stuff that's really non-organic, something like mechas or robots, but you're only used to drawing organic forms. Do you think that the more unique outcome for trying to design stuff in that realm would come from drawing straight lines that you aren't used to? Or would it come from just leaning into what you already know to inform the decisions about how you design robots? While this is only an adjacent topic, for me personally, I struggle a lot with drawing things that have a lot of straight lines. So anything that is architectural, like buildings for example, I really and truly hate. Anything that is man-made, I hate drawing because I just can't stand it. I don't know, there's just something about it. It just feels boring to me. I don't have the ability to make it feel exciting to look at, you know? If you were to ask me to draw a car, it would look like you asked somebody who is like 10 years old to draw a car. Okay, it's bad. But see, that's why if I'm drawing something like a lamp or like a table or buildings or anything like that, I will just draw it in a distorted manner. I will draw it with more curves than I will draw it with lines. Which is really funny because I have a very angular art style. A lot of the clothing that I give my characters as well, let me just put it up here, looks very cohesive when it's all put next to each other. And the reason for that is because I use a lot of the same methodology in layering the clothing, in how I cut the clothing in certain places. And you can also see that my color palettes are very limited. This will be different for everybody, but I like to follow the 60-30-10 rule wherever it is possible. And at this point, to be honest with you, I kind of use it subconsciously rather than consciously. I select up to about 3 colors, and then I use them to create a cohesive character design. So 60% of a character's color palette will be of a dominant color, 30% will come in with a secondary color, and then 10% of the character's color palette will be an accent color. So by following these rules, then you make it a lot easier for yourself to decide how you are going to design things before you even design them at all. So rules and limitations are not really rules and limitations. They are your template and your guideline. Now, with all of that being said, I know that might be a lot of information, so I'm just going to go over some brief considerations to make while you're making your character designs rather than making a full fourth and fifth and sixth topic, because there's so much to talk about, and I'm just gonna end up making more videos about it later. So one of the other things that I didn't get to talk about in this video was silhouette. So silhouette is just the readability of your character design. After you're finished, take your character design and turn it like a complete like black color and just take a look at it against a blank canvas. And if you can still tell that that character is that character, then you did good, okay? This will also have a lot to do with shape language, which is, I'm sure you've heard about this before, how you use circles, squares, and triangles, essentially, which they're basically like the primary colors of the character design world. And one other thing that I would have loved to talk about is how to use motifs and how to do storytelling within your character design. That sounds like a really broad topic, and that's because it is. And there's a lot of reasons why you may or may not make certain character design choices, and I would have loved to talk about how to make those choices, but we're kind of a little bit out of time. I'm out of time anyways, I have other things to do, but thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it, and if you watched all the way to the end, you already know what to do. Subscribe to my channel, and I'll be making more videos like this in the future. See you later.